ladies.
Cheers.
Don't hit your
cheers.
mic. Cheers. I got little arms.
I love T-Rex jokes. I think they're hilarious.
Well, so Brooklyn, my oldest, is shorter than me and calls me T-Rex arms. So we measured our arm, like our wingspan in the kitchen, and her arms are 2 inches shorter than mine. So now,
She's the T-Rex.
yeah, so now we make fun of her.
Kind of fits her personality.
Not your loving granddaughter that way.
She's an angel.
Yeah. Well, and yesterday she got in trouble and I set a bad precedence
I
because,
saw your TikTok,
You saw the
where
TikTok.
where you door dashed to
Oh,
school.
I didn't see it.
well, she calls and she's like, yeah, I'm super hungry, which Brooklyn's never hungry. So I never really worry about what she's going to eat for lunch. She goes, I'm super hungry. Can you bring me lunch? And I was on the other side of New Braunfels. I was like, no, there's no way, but I'll DoorDash. And then it's like I caught myself right after I said it. I'm like, this is not the precedence I want to set right now, because then every time she doesn't take a lunch, it's going to be like, well, can you just DoorDash me something? Well, then, so I did it because I already stuck my foot down my throat. Then last night she gets home and she goes, yeah, I got in trouble because you DoorDashed food.
Oh.
And I was like, why did you get in trouble? Well, we're not allowed to DoorDash things to the school. I said, well, you didn't. I did. And what's the difference if I drop it off or DoorDash
Right.
drops it off? Like,
Yeah.
it's the same thing, but
Yeah.
she got in trouble for it. And it kind of annoys me because I'm like, don't jump on my kid for something that I did.
Call
Yeah.
me.
Call me. If you've got a
Mhm.
problem with something that I did,
Yeah.
Let
me
me know.
Don't
Yeah.
punish my kid for
Yeah,
my
she's-
transgression.
she's 14 years old. Like, it's not like, she's got a credit card and she
Yeah.
just did it herself.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I don't know. That was annoying, but,
Yeah.
I
mean-
can't control it all.
No. I mean, it's better than when I get a call twice last week because the first day he wasn't somehow on the like hot lunch list,
Mhm.
but like my other son was. So I had to bring him lunch and I was already running late to showing, so that was good times. And then the next day I get a call from his teacher and he is like full in tears, meltdown, crying, he's starving. And it was because he told me when it was hot lunch orders they open up like mid the month before. And he said, I don't want to eat pizza anymore on Fridays. And I said, okay, fine. But that's like for the next month. And so we still had a couple of Fridays left. And he just had a complete and utter meltdown because he was getting pizza. And so then
Oh.
I had to leave work again to bring him lunch because if he doesn't eat, then he's like a bear the rest of the day. He doesn't concentrate. He doesn't do anything. And so you're stuck between this, like, he's 6. I'm stuck between this like rock and a hard place of like, teach him his lesson, teach him that like it wasn't right now versus like punish myself later because he's just gonna see me and then we're
Yeah.
gonna have to relive this,
Yeah.
this atrocious thing that I did to
where you had to
him.
eat
I
pizza.
made him
Yeah.
starve. I made him eat pizza. God forbid making my child eat pizza.
Yeah.
So
Well, and I don't remember growing up, like, having any option
No.
Mm-mm.
on what.
They don't realize
was
how
fed.
much better they have it.
No. Like,
and if my mom got us pizza, it was like sheet pan pizza that tasted like lasagna.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
we called it lasagna pizza all the time. It was
Yeah.
big square pieces that
we
we
got
would get.
whatever was on the tray that day.
Yeah.
It didn't matter
there
what
was
it
no
was. It was like,
option.
eat
No.
it or starve.
No.
They had no option because there was no
Mhm.
cafeteria. We packed
Packed the
lunches
lunches, yeah.
every single
Yeah.
day.
Mhm.
And they didn't always have a choice on ham sandwich, peanut butter and jelly. It was whatever
Mhm.
I had, and I was making 3 of them,
Yeah.
and y'all got the same thing.
Yeah. I
But
just
that's the way
remember
y'all
being
were.
so excited if it was like
Mhm.
a Lunchable or something. I'm like, oh, they stepped it up. You know, it was like, that was like the bougie kid lunch or
Mhm.
like the
Yeah.
little crackers with the cheese with the
Yes.
red
Yes.
stick that dipped
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like we were
Yeah.
We
I
were
mean,
stepping up that
Well,
day.
see, the neighbor got lucky. I can remember I don't know how many times a week I'd get the call. Can you bring lunch for me and Vanessa and Kati and
Yeah, Avery is my
whoever?
youngest sister, the golden child,
So, yeah.
I'm the
because
youngest, and I am not the golden child. Let's be very
Well,
clear. We have,
13 years younger.
Yeah.
So she was like the baby,
And
like the
and
TikTok. She's just a baby.
I
yeah,
didn't work, so it was easier to do those things. But
yeah, we got the short end of the
I'm
stick.
sorry.
I was not the golden child. Let's be very clear. I'm the youngest, but I was not the golden child. Megan was the bookworm. She was like the precious, like she sat in her room and did all of her homework and loved it.
Yeah.
Then there was Greg, who was the only boy in the family, and then went to the Naval Academy. So you're not going to one up that.
Yeah.
And then there was me,
I remember.
the wrecking ball.
I remember my mother telling me she was about 8 weeks old at the time. She just looked at her and said, "She's going to turn your hair gray." And my mother was correct. She did turn my hair gray.
Well, I was like a perfect child. I did everything right through my teenage years. It's
not.
yeah.
not.
I was the reason for the therapy for a while.
Yeah.
But look how great I turned out.
You did
And
turn out great.
and you're wondering where your daughters get all of
Oh
their,
no.
Yeah.
Like
all of their
Exactly.
thenness from.
Yeah.
I keep
Chef's
hearing, well,
kiss.
Brooklyn did this and I never did. Yeah, you did.
okay. So Brooklyn is starting her mayhem a lot earlier than I did. Like
Only a year or so.
I'm already in fear of holiday season because last holiday season she stole my car
I remember that because I was at your house.
Oh,
at
Yeah.
I was there like
14
I was there a week after
and
that.
drove 90 miles each way in the middle of the night. That was 2 days
That's a
before
challenge.
Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
now I'm like, okay, so what's going to happen this year when she's got time on her hands, Christmas break again?
mm-hmm.
Like, we need kill switches in all the vehicles. I mean, like,
You sleep with your keys under your car, under your pillow.
well, knowing Brooklyn, she can just like hotwire it or something. You
You
can learn how to
could've.
do anything now.
You would have.
No, I just got smart one time and disconnected their car batteries
Yeah.
before I left, so they couldn't follow.
Yeah.
I really hope your daughter doesn't listen to this podcast because she's gonna know. She's gonna be
Exactly.
like, "Oh,
there's an
that's
idea.
a great idea."
Mhm.
Brooklyn would probably rather die than listen to this podcast.
I remember you taking a car and driving to College Station.
But in my defense, I was like 17.
No,
Yes, I was.
maybe. Yeah, you at least had a driver's license.
I
That's
did.
true.
Mom, don't I look like an angel? I look like an angel.
Yes, you never hotwired cars,
I
but
never did
let's
that.
count how many accidents you were in.
That is never mind the point. I didn't
Oh.
steal
It was an
any car.
accident, Mom.
It was an accident.
It happened to her, not
go
because
with
of
the,
her.
Let's go with the speeding
See?
tickets. How many
Oh.
speeding tickets did we get?
Look,
Yes?
you have to go with the flow of traffic. It just happened to be targeted.
Uh-huh.
Young female.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. You convince
saying.
yourself of
And the
that.
gas mileage is much better at a higher rate of speed in some of these vehicles just because the way the engine is calibrated.
okay.
Like
I
my
see.
car needed me to go 80.
I
Right.
see. Mm-hmm.
I was
Right.
saving money.
It also saved
Uh-huh.
me 3 minutes on time. I learned
Oh.
that when I had to take,
There you
the
are.
driver's ed again
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
twice.
Mm-hmm.
You took driver's ed twice?
Because
Well, when you
a
get
ticket in
speeding
for-
tickets,
when you
Oh,
get-
defensive
Yeah, the
driving.
defensive
Yeah.
driving.
Yeah.
Yeah, they basically were like, if you're going 80 and a 60, you're only saving 3 minutes on time. I'm like, but could I use those
3 minutes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna
Mhm.
be solid yes,
You're
especially when I'm breaking
saving
curfew.
3 minutes and the frustration of being behind the slow guy.
Right.
until the insurance bill comes in, and then you watch your parents' eyes start to
Yes.
twitch
Yes.
because your insurance rates have gone up. Not
Mhm.
because of anything you've done.
Yeah.
Children
I
are a
wasn't that
blessing
bad.
from God.
You had
Some-
a couple of accidents too. I don't think they were your fault though.
That's what I'm saying. They weren't my fault.
The one where you hit the concrete thing in the middle of the
Oh,
road.
that one was definitely not my
that
fault.
was not your fault. That was the only major accident you had. You had some parking lot mishaps, but
The first one was the first time we let you drive to school. You didn't even make it out of the neighborhood.
But that
Really?
one was not
it
my
was not
fault.
her fault. She made the right-hand turn out of the neighborhood, drove half a block, and totaled the car.
Oh,
I got hit by a drunk driver.
That's bad.
jeez.
On your
See-
way to school?
Yeah,
She wasn't even out of the
It
neighborhood.
was there was a
roundabout.
roundabout,
Mm-hmm.
and so I was coming around the roundabout, and they're supposed to
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah.
There was no stopping. Like just hit off another van.
Off of
Oh,
an
wow.
all-nighter, huh?
Probably, yeah.
And
Oh,
I don't know
wow.
where they went. I mean, the police were very good about responding.
Mhm.
I wasn't even sure who I was when I called my mom. I had hit my head so hard on the side door because there wasn't airbags there.
No, right.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Oh my
But
goodness.
he was going so fast that the van that he ricocheted off of broke that van's axle, broke
Wow.
my
My
axle.
right. hmm
So that was my
Wow.
first experience.
It was a blue
getting-
Volvo.
Mhm.
I remember
I'm
because
surprised you drove after that.
That accident was my first accident, and then my other really bad accident happened on it's 95, which is like 35, but in Virginia, and I was heading back to college, and someone had come in, and I was in the right-hand lane, and someone had merged, and when I hit my brakes, my car spun out, and I got hit by an 18-wheeler.
Mm.
Oh,
I got
Jesus.
cut out with the jaws of life. I was 20 minutes, and I had just called my mom, and I said, I'm 20 minutes from the apartment, and I texted, I was letting my roommate know,
Mhm.
and then, yeah, and it was, then I was at the hospital.
That
I'm not
was a
even sure
fun
who-
call.
I'm not even sure
Yeah.
who called you. I don't remember a lot of that.
the state police called and
Oh,
said,
God, that would be
Oh,
the
that would-
worst.
It was.
is-
Worst.
and keep in mind, we lived about an hour and a half away from that point where
Oh,
she
that's
was.
terrible.
And 95 is, I guess, like 35 here.
Mhm.
One accident will tie it up for
Yeah,
hours.
you can't
Yeah.
get
And
through to her.
Sure enough, her accident tied us
Yeah.
up trying to get to her. And the state trooper said, I said, how is she? He said, I don't know. They're taking her to MCV, which is the trauma care center.
Oh, my goodness.
So, so you're driving for an hour and a half
Right,
trying to
have
get
no
to your
idea.
child and have no idea.
Oh, God, I can't imagine.
No, I remember when I got in, I guess my worst is when she was talking about a lady pulled out of a movie theater parking lot and I had to swerve to miss just really broadsiding her. And I clipped the rear end of her and it sent me into like this huge rock
Neighborhood
concrete
had one of
thing.
those big signs,
Yeah.
that was built up.
And I remember calling her and just telling her, Mom, I've been in an accident. I'm on Vance Jackson. And I remember her shooting out of her car. She parks it in the middle of the street and comes out and she goes, you didn't tell me you were in a bad accident. You just said I thought you were in like a fender bender.
Yeah, I had no
So
idea.
I'm sitting there on the side of the road. My wrist is shattered.
Yeah.
It's swollen. My airbag's out. I had two
Two
girls
friends
with
with
me.
you that were hurt.
And she's like, why didn't you tell me it was like a bad accident? I'm like, I'm kind of in shock. I don't know.
yeah.
Didn't.
She's laid
occur
out
to me.
on the ground. I'm like, the truck looked awful.
Yeah.
I'm surprised y'all
I think
weren't
that's
hurt
the
more than
scariest.
you were. Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
the scariest part because my mom's, when they finally got there, my mom stayed with me and my dad had to go claim, the police showed up and I remember them telling my dad, you're going to have to go claim the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And all my stuff was in it.
Mhm.
And I was supposed to have my roommate with me and she would be dead.
She would have been
if
dead.
She would have been dead.
Mhm.
Wow.
But I remember him coming back, and I remember my mom asking, "How bad is it?" And there was no color in his face. He just shook his head no, and that's all I remember from that
Mm.
portion.
Ooh.
There's small portions of that I remember. I do remember the guy in the room, the curtain next to me, screaming at me because he was totally inebriated or high or something
Mhm.
and I needed to get x-rays, but I was given pain medication and he wasn't. And he was like, of course you give him to the good girl over there. I mean, it is like a
Well.
mega hospital. So like I was in the
Yeah.
middle of a hallway being treated. Like
Ugh.
it was not fun.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm
That-
not looking forward to those days with mine. In Brooklyn's defense, I will say,
She's a good driver.
yeah, like I don't have any real big concerns with her getting her license
Mhm.
because, I mean, if she's already stolen our vehicles multiple times and never had a major incident starting at 14, like, I want to get mad, but I also want to fist bump her a little bit. Like,
Mhm.
good job,
Yeah.
so
Continue down this path.
yeah. I mean, I kind of feel like Did you ever have those moments where you were mad, but also kind of impressed with my ingenuity?
Yeah. Yeah.
You just realize it now and not so much when it was
No, not
happening.
so much when it was happening.
No.
And then we won't talk about the parties and the kicked in front door because
Well,
of your
the kicked
choice
in,
in boyfriends.
yeah, that was fun. That,
Her and her sister gave us a gift certificate for a weekend in Fredericksburg for our anniversary. So we're in Fredericksburg, and she calls me, and her boyfriend, or
he was an
y'all-
ex
he
at
was an
that point.
ex at that point,
Yeah, he
kicked
was
in
an
our
ex.
front door of our house.
None of my boyfriends were that bad.
No, they weren't.
I didn't have great taste.
No,
But
Yeah.
but they weren't.
they didn't kick
violent.
they didn't
no.
kick in the
Yeah.
door.
Yeah.
Why did he kick in the door? To
Because
get
she
to you?
wouldn't open it, I guess.
I don't think I was home.
No, maybe not.
No, I don't think
Was
I
it
was
Sandy
home.
that was home? Somebody was home
I don't remember.
because they called us.
Hmm.
But yeah,
think it may have
that
been
was
your neighbor
pleasant. At
that called
midnight,
you.
we get a call that the front door's been kicked in. So much for that anniversary, but
You said y'all were bored there anyway because they didn't have a
everything
TV
was
or
closed.
anything. And so, did
Bringing
you kind of a
excitement to your
favor
life.
Yeah.
since
Oh, there was
1982?
lots of excitement in our life back then, that's for sure.
Do you ever just look now and like laugh? I bet you and Jay secretly do. Like when I'm ranting about stuff with the girls, you're
Well,
like,
yeah, especially
"Mhm."
with Brooklyn, we both kind of go, payback. Because we said it all along. Someday you're going to get payback,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So, yeah, it's kind of funny to see.
Kate's father would always say to her, "I hope you have 6 just
Just
like
like
you."
Exactly.
I
She
have-
has
I have-
one
I have-
just like her.
I have
Yeah.
one, and
One.
he's a boy, so it's like a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
It's like
Mhm.
I don't really know what to do with him some days. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the problem is, so I got called also from the school a few weeks ago for my youngest. And so I went up there and
Oh
I
my
talked.
Bug.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, little Delaney bug. I went up there and I was talking to him, and they're like, "Yeah, she's quite sarcastic."
She
And
is.
I'm like, "Well,
That's
was
her
she being
personality.
disrespectful? Did she do something that was against the rules? Like, why am I here exactly?" And so I think through the course of the conversation, they realized that she inherited that trait from me. So I possibly might not have been the best one to call up as like she didn't break a rule, but this is her personality. We don't like it kind of thing, because that doesn't really like
Yeah.
roll with me.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a fist bump moment for me when she says stuff that's like funny, sarcastic. I'm like, you go, girl, go,
Yeah.
best friend.
Yeah.
You know,
She is-
so
yeah, she can be sarcastic, but she's not rude about it.
no, but
She's never.
yeah, I think that the teachers are kind of getting a crash course in my personality too. So I don't think I'll get those calls anymore. And then after the door dashing, I haven't had a chance to talk to them about that yet, but it's coming
It's
also.
coming.
Are you
Someday.
sure they're going to take your kids back next year?
No, but I don't know that my kids want to go back.
Really? I thought they liked it.
Delaney wants to wear her own clothes.
That doesn't surprise me.
The
Delaney
private
has quite
school
her
kind
own
of-
style kind of thing.
Yeah, I think Brooklyn would be fine staying in private school, but I don't know with Delaney. She's kind of annoyed by the whole situation. It's cramping her style.
Yeah.
I think that's every teenage girl though.
I can
Yes, I think
definitely
so.
see that
Mhm.
more with Delaney because she definitely has a very distinctive personality and style.
It's quirky.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's
Very quirky.
yeah.
It's a good word for it. She'll
Her style
outgrow
doesn't
it,
come from your
hopefully.
side.
No, no. Her style, I'm not sure where it came from. It's much more the like goth rocker chick
Mhm.
without the goth part.
Yeah.
It's just a phase.
Maybe.
Isn't that what they all say when they go
Yeah.
through their emo
Yeah.
phase? It's just a phase.
Just a phase.
Well, I mean, you know, if that's the worst phase
Yeah.
compared to what I see some of the girls wearing now that are
Mhm.
like hoochied out
Yeah.
and
Yes.
letting it all hang out, I'm like,
I'll
if
take
girlfriend
that.
wants to cover up and wear combat boots, I'll take
Yeah.
that all day
Yeah.
long.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
like, so is it really the
sure.
worst thing? No. Is it something I
No.
identify with and enjoy shopping with her for? Probably
No.
not.
Yeah.
But
I mean, she doesn't wear the black eyeliner and black nail polish and all of that. So,
Yeah. Only because I won't let her wear eyeliner.
yet
Yeah.
It's coming.
it's coming.
Who knows? She may be wearing it and you just
Yeah.
don't know.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I've
With
seen
her-
a lot of girls go to school and they look totally different
No, I
at school
could-
than they do by the time they get
Yep.
home.
Brooklyn is my child that sneaks out. She'll leave to go shopping with a friend in a hoodie, and then I'll see her on social media. They've taken selfies on Snapchat, and she's in a sports bra and jeans, and I'm like, what the hell? Where's your shirt?
That
What?
is a shirt, Mom. You see adult women going in HEB in a sports bra and leggings. I
Yeah.
mean,
So at 14, you would have allowed me to go shopping in a sports bra
no,
and
I
jeans?
wouldn't have, but you didn't see women dressing that way either. I mean, let's be honest, in New Braunfels, you see people walking in a bikini with a sheer cover up in HEB. It's like,
Yeah, but I think that
I mean, yeah, you try to discourage it, but it's not totally out of
It's hard when it's in their face all
yeah,
the time.
what
Yes.
everyone else
Yeah.
is doing. It
And they don't recognize that it's an adult doing it
Right,
versus a
right.
child. They just
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
another woman.
mhm.
So it's fine.
yeah, well, and it is all over Instagram and
Yes.
everything
Yeah. It
else. And I'm
is.
like, how are these kids supposed to?
Heck, there's a realtor that posts videos of herself and her.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's There's a lot of agents who don't
Mhm.
know what they're selling at this
Right.
point. I
Mhm.
think
Yeah.
so. We talked about that a little bit in one of our other episodes, but
Mhm.
it's going to be interesting.
Mhm.
It's hard for kids today. It's just everything's okay.
Yeah, as long as you feel
you
good
know?
about it.
Yeah.
It's some sort of
Right.
movement.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Everything has a movement now.
Yeah.
Well, and everything, as long as you feel good.
Right.
I'm like, this world really doesn't care if you feel good
You
as
get
an
a-
adult.
You get a
Mhm.
trophy, and you get a trophy,
Right.
and you get a trophy.
Right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like
Everybody gets a trophy. It doesn't matter what you did or didn't do.
Or didn't do. Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah. No,
Long-
my kid will be wearing a shirt as long as I have a choice.
I agree.
When she and right now she's going to her first quinceañera this weekend with a
Mhm.
friend, and the friend told her just to wear her homecoming dress, which is very glittery, very sparkly,
Right.
very over the top. And I'm like, I think that might be a bad idea. Like, have you ever been to a quinceañera?
Yeah, one of my really good friends when I was in high school had a quince.
Yeah.
The one who would have died had she been in the car.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, typically the birthday girl wants to be front and center
Yes,
Yeah, they
absolutely.
in the
were-
most
Yes.
elaborate dress
Yes.
and everything
Mhm.
else. So I told Brooklyn, I go, coming in like a disco ball to somebody else's party is maybe
When-
not going to be the best.
Is she not in
thing.
the court? Is she not in the quince court?
No,
She would have had to memorize some dance with some
No.
gentleman.
no. And she cannot dance. So it's better that she is not in any kind
court.
of court. She got her mama's rhythm. So both of them, poor girls. Neither one of them have any
I
kind of
don't
moves.
either.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, I don't know. So just navigating kids' wardrobes now is
Mhm.
difficult.
It's very
Mhm.
difficult.
Like we just threw on a shirt and whatever. I don't remember it being.
A thing.
It wasn't that big a thing when y'all were in school.
Well,
Greg had more of that thing, I think, than either Megan or I had. My brother went to a school that had dress code,
Mhm.
and he went to a preparatory school, so it was very preppy.
Mhm.
So it was all about the name brand. It was all about the
Right.
Ralph Lauren. It was all about,
Mm.
whatever you were wearing. And then
Yeah.
your sweater had to match the horse that was on your polo and
Mhm.
all of the things. So I think Greg was more brand conscious than any of us. I mean, he was the lucky one. He did not have to go shop in the basement with
He's
mom.
the trophy child.
When my mom would say, "Hey, do you want to go shopping?" and I'd be like, "Yeah," and then she'd be like, "Down the basement we go," and
To get the hand-me-downs
To
from
get
her older
Megan-
sister.
Oh.
clothes
Oh.
who's 7 years older than me.
Oh, so they were perfectly in style.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
My favorite was the one that she pushed on me for years that was baby pink and had like little
Snowballs.
pom-poms
Mhm.
on them in pastel
Oh.
colors. And I was like, if you pull this out one more time, I'm leaving. I'm packing my things and I'm leaving. I'm
It
over.
ultimately got to be on purpose. Here, are you
Mm.
sure you don't
Yeah.
like this now?
Oh my God, you're like, why are you saving this? We need
No,
to have
it
a
was-
fire
it
in the
was torture.
basement.
Yeah.
It was torture.
We never had Or you never had to deal with the hand-me-down issue.
Mm-mm.
It was
No,
just
but
you and Sandy, and they were so different. They're a month apart. They're stepsisters.
yeah.
And if one said white, the other said black. There was no agreeing on anything in our
Mm-mm.
household ever, ever.
That's always fun.
Mm-hmm.
Always adds to
Well,
the excitement.
and in my defense, I feel like that's just part of my temperament anyway,
Mhm.
is kind of that strong-willed, argumentative kind of
Yeah.
vibe. So,
It is. And then there was the raiding my closet. I could never find anything. I'd
Well,
get up
that's
to
what
go to work.
That's what
Yeah.
you talked about last time.
And
uh-huh.
couldn't find anything. Everything was gone.
I never borrowed any of your things.
No, we were never anywhere near the same size. You were always much smaller
Yeah.
than me.
Yeah, yeah.
Your
She
jewelry.
didn't have that
Our
luck.
jewelry.
Jewelry,
No.
yes, but you really weren't into suits with blazers and
Yeah.
Yeah.
blouses. You really,
No.
not your
it's
style
not
at
quite-
14.
no.
No.
And now it's Avery. She gets ready to go on a trip and she comes over and says, Mom, I need to check your closet.
She's what, 27 now?
Yeah.
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 So
So she borrows my clothes now.
one day you'll get to keep your own things.
Someday.
Someday,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. So do you feel like, because one of the topics that you sent was talking about the differences in being like working moms when we were growing up versus now. Do you think it's changed at all, or do you think it's kind of same vein?
I don't know. I think it's a lot the same. The same struggles with how do you get where you need to be and, on time and still deal with the kids who want your undivided attention, like the bring me lunch and that wasn't an option for y'all.
Yeah. See, and I think that's a little different because I feel like kids are needier now. I don't
I
remember.
think they're less independent now. I think they're
Yeah.
more coddled now, and parents tend to want to do. I would say they don't want their kids to be uncomfortable now. There's no making Avery has friends that are her age, 26, 27, whose parents still pay their cell phone bill, still pay their car insurance. If they want to take a trip, the parents will still pay for it because they can't have anything uncomfortable.
Mhm.
They
No
can't-
struggles.
They can't have to tell their friends that they can't afford to
You
go.
can't say no.
That kind of thing. And so I think for that reason, parents have made it harder on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder how much of that I worked sometimes as many as 3 jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother never worked. And I got virtually no support. As a matter of fact, I was told, why are you letting other people raise your children?
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't letting other people raise my children. And I tried to arrange my schedule so that primary part of my workday was while they were in school.
Mm-hmm.
It couldn't be avoided all the time. But I did that so they would have more than what I had
Right.
growing up. But my husband and I were really careful about responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for us to be still providing for our children is a sign we're still trying to make things easier,
Mm-hmm.
better for them than
Than
what
what
we
we had.
had as a child. And you have to think back to my parents who cut us off at a certain point in time. For us, it was 18. You weren't kicked out of the house, but if you lived in the house, you were going to pay rent
Right.
to my parents.
Right.
And you were going to continue to do chores or whatever
Mm-hmm.
was needed around the house. I think there's so little of that now.
No.
Mm-hmm.
And when they were growing up, you didn't leave your bedroom before making your bed.
Mm-hmm.
You were responsible for your homework. You were responsible for cleaning up after yourself. And in my own children, I don't see that happening all the time.
Mhm.
Attempts are made, but it's not
Right.
as much because they're all working parents.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to make things easier for their children compared to what they had as
Right.
a child. And I think it's now tipped too far over because the children are growing up with a small sense of responsibility, a small sense of actions have consequences,
Just
and
independence.
Well,
independence.
there's
Like,
a entitlement thing too.
Yeah.
It's like they're entitled to have this. They're entitled to have that.
but I mean, because you and Jay both worked
Yeah.
the whole time I was growing up.
Mhm.
So we were latchkey kids after school.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that honestly kind of helped us because, we got used to having to do things ourselves and entertain ourselves. And now
Mhm.
I think I see parents all the time and they're constantly having to entertain their
Entertain,
Yeah.
kids.
Mhm.
Like their kids can't not be busy sometimes.
Mhm.
And then I also look at like me with my kids, and I'm not saying either one is right or wrong, but my sister that's the same age, she's got 2 kids also. And we're like polar opposites on the
Mhm.
parenting scale.
Yeah.
I'm much more
Very
not
much so.
free range, but I'm like, you need to figure it out.
Mhm.
If you're hungry, there's a pantry full of food. Go make yourself
Right.
something. At almost 12 and 14, I don't think that's out of bounds.
No.
Whereas, my sister is very much the helicopter parent, constantly
Mhm.
having to do, like, they can't do anything themselves.
Mhm.
Well, and
And-
they're constantly going. They're going to. They have to be entertained.
Mhm.
They come to our house and it's, what are we doing today? Where are we going?
Yeah. No, I'm not that parent.
They don't entertain themselves at all. And so it's, they have to be entertained. And then there's the social media aspect,
Mm-hmm.
or not necessarily even social media, but the iPads, the computers, they don't go
technology.
outside
Mhm.
and play anymore.
Right.
And my kids are guilty of that. Like, if
Mhm.
I remember one time telling Delaney to go play outside, she's like, play what?
Yeah.
Like, what are you
Figure
wanting
it
me to
out.
do? I'm
Mhm.
like, I'm about to just lock you out like my parents did.
Mhm.
And when I
Yeah,
turn on
we
the
were
porch
locked
light,
out.
you can
Locked
come
you
home.
out.
Well, you made it abundantly clear for a while that we needed to stay
You
outside for a
needed to
while.
find something to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were
And
never locked out, but
No.
you definitely made it
Yeah.
really clear, like, do not come in this house.
Yeah.
yeah.
You
Well, I
will
worked
play
full
outside.
time, and so my weekends were grocery shopping, laundry, and house. It was with 4 kids at one time. It was busy.
Mhm.
In between taking child 1 here and
Right.
child 2 there to
Mhm.
whatever
Yeah.
sport they were involved
Mhm.
in, you were also doing the grocery shopping and
Right.
the cleaning and the cooking and
Mm-hmm.
I
And
think-
that's one thing I'm happy has changed because I don't remember growing up Jay really having any of the responsibilities
No.
for
No.
doctors or
absolutely
No,
not.
cleaning
not at
or
all.
anything.
No.
So it's like she
No.
was working full time, dealing with 3
Yes.
kids at home
Mhm.
and all of the household stuff,
Yes.
groceries,
Mhm.
everything.
Doctor's appointments.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%.
So-
Yes.
To in counseling, to in tutoring, and it was just a constant.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's 100% true. And I
Yeah.
always remember, I remember a lot of times my mom working those 3 jobs. And I
Mhm.
remember because I was the youngest, so I was a part of it. And I
Mhm.
don't know that my other 2 siblings were as much of a part of it. Like, I would go to work with
Mhm.
you.
Mhm. I
um,
used to go
many,
with her
many
sometimes.
days. And I mean, I would amuse myself. She would be working and I would amuse myself with whatever I was
Mhm.
amusing myself
Yeah.
with.
Mm-hmm.
But what I find to be the fascinating thing that I take away from my childhood is that I never wanted for anything.
Mhm.
There was never any time that I felt like I missed out, that my parents weren't there,
Right.
that my mom was ever late. I don't remember that ever being the case as a kid. And I think for me as a mom, I try and emulate that perfection. I mean, our house was always perfect and dinner was always on the table and we always had homework with mom when we needed her, and there was self-reliance, like we would get our own snacks and stuff and play on our own, but
Mhm.
when we needed her, she was there 100% of the time. So to me as a mom, I'm trying to me that's perfection. I'm trying
Mhm.
to emulate that
Oh
perfection.
my
And
God, that sounds
she-
exhausting.
Well,
It is
like,
exhausting.
well, and she
Oh.
tells me all the time. There was many times that she would
Yeah.
just go and cry herself to sleep or scream in a pillow or
Mhm.
whatever. But I try and emulate that. But I also know in myself, I'm a workaholic. So
Mhm.
I enjoy working. I enjoy what I'm doing. I
Mhm.
enjoy being there present in the moment. So it's like, but I also realize I don't want my kids to feel like I'm not there for
Right.
them.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, and it is different being a boy mom. Like, it is a little bit, I'm not a Lego master. Like, that's
Mhm.
not my thing. But, like, you want me to kick a ball? You want me to push cars? Like, I'm happy to do that. But there are certain boy things that I'm just not good at. I'm
Right.
just not. And I think that's where I feel like I'm lacking. And so I try and fill that void with things that I know I'm good at. Like, I will take them to the museum and I will
Mhm.
take them to somewhere so they're amused, or a playground or whatever it is, because James's go-to is playing Legos, and I'm not patient enough for
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
And I have a very creative brain, but I don't have the creative brain where here's all these little pieces
Yeah.
and let me make a
Yeah.
car out of it. Like, I'm not, that's not how,
No.
that's an
No.
engineering
Yeah.
brain that I don't have.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's why I'm
No.
not an engineer. It's why buildings were not built by me. Like, that
Yeah.
would be a terrible thing. So I think, as far as like seeing my mom as a working mom versus me being a working mom, I think that's what is hard for me. Like, I just see what I had, and I hope that I'm like half of that. I hope that
Mhm.
I can attempt to be half of that. I mean, my house is not in a
Yeah, I was
museum.
gonna
My
say,
house
like,
is
I
lived
gave up
in.
on that. My house is chaos.
Well, you've got 5 dogs.
5 dogs, 2 kids.
That makes a difference.
And,
Mhm.
you know, so no, I'm not ever going to be that. But I think it's funny how even amongst women, there's still that judgment,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
at school versus the stay at home moms who, you know,
Yeah.
do everything right. And then, you know, I was at the school one day and it was a party for, I think it was like Halloween or something. And one of them made a comment to me like, oh, we would have called you, but you never show up because you're always working. And I'm like, well, if I don't show up, it's because I didn't know something was happening.
Mhm.
But yes, I have to work. So every
That's how I
time
pay the tuition.
you
Yeah.
have like coffee and donuts with mom bi-weekly and decorating a locker and everything, I have to choose which activities I can
Right.
do. And when you make them, instead of like either parent can show, it's all moms. I can't even send Clint in as like
Right.
my
Backup.
backup.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's like you get the judgment either way. And I'm like, I'm the breadwinner in the house.
Mhm.
So if I don't go to work and if I don't
Right.
maintain my business, then it all falls apart.
Mm-hmm.
So it just like women need to cut that out. You know, I mean, if you want to
Yeah.
stay home, that's great. I was miserable staying home. Like
Yeah,
you're
you'd
bored
never
and
make it as a stay-at-home
no,
mom.
and I just feel like half my brain wasn't really in use.
Right.
So I don't think it's like a bad thing. And
It is not.
No, it is
no, I mean,
not.
I'm still there when my kids need me. I pick them up from school 90% of the time. I'm the one that
Mhm.
drops them off most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as girls, now they're getting to more of an age where they're coming back around to needing mom
Mhm.
Mhm.
between hair and makeup and shopping. And I
Yeah.
finally am the cool parent
Mhm.
sometimes. You know, so I don't know. I think moms are the worst to other moms.
They are their own worst critic.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You are a human being with faults, with
Mhm.
flaws, with limitations. You
Mhm.
can only do the best you can
Yep.
do. And as long as you realize you're doing the best you can do, it doesn't matter if mom over here is telling
Mhm.
you, oh, you
Mhm.
know, you should be at all of these events, or your house isn't perfect, or the
Mhm.
laundry isn't folded, or as long as your children are
Are
happy,
Mhm.
Exactly.
that's it.
Right.
That's all that matters.
And your
Mhm.
kids don't know another way.
No,
You're
they
the only
don't.
mom they've ever known.
Right.
Right.
So it's not like they're like, oh, well, I say that. However, I will say that Delaney has told me that one of her friends' moms is her favorite. Lindsay is the mom. And she's like, I just love Miss Lindsay. She just does all these things. And I'm like, well, you're stuck with me. Sorry. You know,
Yeah.
like I am not the crafty mom that's going to
Right.
I
sit
was the
down
mean
and,
mom.
Yes.
Oh,
I was
I
well
am-
known in the neighborhood as the mean mom because I had rules.
The strict mom.
Right.
I was the
Mhm.
strict mom. And one of my friends still says to me, she reminisces about sending Elizabeth to our house because I would straighten her out.
Mhm.
But I had rules, and the rules were meant to be followed.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And if you didn't follow the rules, it comes back to your actions have consequences.
Right.
Right.
And it wasn't, I don't think I was mean. I just,
No, but I inherited your RBF, and that's what you have.
Yeah.
and that's where that comes from.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
Yeah.
also,
I-
she was the mom to have on the field trip
Mhm.
because she was very, we always had like homework on the field trip. It wasn't like, go enjoy this. It was like, go fill out this worksheet at the field
Oh,
trip.
no.
And
no.
so my mom would be like, the answer is in the second paragraph, somewhere in the middle. And there's only 4 sentences, so figure it out.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
she was the mom to be because then you got to be with, because then you did get to go do the fun stuff. Whereas and so some of my friends caught on quick, was like, I want to be Mrs. Moynihan's group. I want to be in Mrs. Moynihan's group. And so, I think that was, once you got to know my mom, it was different because when you were one of my really good friends, you then were adopted. Like you were then another child to her, and she was going to defend you with her life. And so I think that's part of the difference that people didn't recognize outwardly.
Well, and I think that's kind of what some of, especially Delaney's friends will come over. They don't really know what to make of me because I've never talked to my girls like little kids ever. Even when they were little, I was never the parent to like baby talk them. So I straight talk my kids. And if they're doing something, I'll tell them slow their roll, or I will give them that one look that Delaney instantly knows to shut up. And now some of their friends will see me pass out that look. She's got one friend, and I won't name names, but she's very coddled and very kind of bratty, only child. And I flat out tell her, like, if you're going to have that attitude, you're not allowed in my house anymore. Like, I'm just not going to deal with it. So let me know now if you need me to call your mom, come get you. But that attitude doesn't fly here. And so they're like, some of them are almost scared. And then some of them that understand sarcasm think I'm hilarious because I get on and play back and forth with the girls. But, it just, I can't handle.
But I think there's some sort of like, there's that earned respect. Like that's where you like, it's good to be the cool mom, but at the same time, like you're the authority, you're the adult, and it creates that respect. And, that was always something that I was like really adamant that I did not want to go to the high school I ended up going to for 2 reasons. One, my sister, we could not be any different.
Yeah, but there's a lot of years between you, surely.
Does not matter.
Does not matter.
It was a private school.
It was a private school, and Megan, I am not a bookworm. I am not, and Megan was, and she was very respected, and she was well known for her brains, and she also played on varsity softball, and like, I'm like, sports I was okay. I was decent at sports, but it was never my thing.
Passion.
Yeah. And I enjoyed doing it because I liked being around like people. Like track was my sport that I really loved. And but my mom was so respected. So it's like I felt like I was constantly trying to live up to this expectation, knowing that I'm not that person. And that had its bonuses and its negatives in my high school career. There was a nun that hated me. And every kid says that, like, oh, my teacher doesn't like me. No, this nun hated me.
She did.
I feel like there's a theme in
one.
your life between baptism/exorcisms
There's
and
a
a
thought about
nun who
religion
hates
that
you.
was really affected in my life.
Yeah, it's
I would say that. But this nun we learned, had a lot of personal stuff going on. And for whatever reason, like, I was it. I was the target.
Yes.
And I was we got to choose our seats, and it was a science class, and I'm good at science. I loved science, and I sat in the front row because I love science.
Yeah.
And she moved me to the back so she didn't have to deal with me. Like, my lab partner asked me, what page are we on? And I remember, to this day, I said, we're on page 42. And she was like, she called me out and sent me to the back of the class. And I was like, I don't understand. And I'll never forget, my dad picked me up from band practice, and he said, Mom said to go clean out your locker. And I was like, I about melted. I was like, oh my God, I'm dying. I'm not going to survive class tonight. I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
And I get home, and Mom said that she had gotten a call from the nun. And I was like, Mom, she hates me.
Yeah.
She hates me. She said I hadn't turned in any homework. She said I had failed all my tests. So we get to the conference with my dad. And he was an intimidating, like, just...
He was in a suit and a tie.
Yeah, just an intimidating person, too. But but he's a big teddy bear. But she pulled out a folder, and magically all of my work was right there. Right there, dated, ready to go. And she didn't even remember that we had a conference that day. I mean, it was bad. How do you fire a nun? Like,
Oh, goodness.
I
We
mean,
did.
Good. See, and that's the thing that my girls, I hope, understand that while I am tough on them, I would also go the mat.
Yes.
So,
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
like, you
Mhm.
mess with them, you're messing with
Yes.
me, and I'm not
Mhm.
afraid of just about anybody. So, like, and I think the school last year with Brooklyn playing softball, because she transferred in
Mhm.
mid-year, and it was total daddy ball. The coaches didn't want to put her in. She was the best batter on the whole team, but they
Mhm.
wouldn't play her because all their daughters played.
Mhm.
So I had my whole blindside moment. Lit into them. I copied the head of athletics, the principal of the school, the headmaster of all the schools, everything. I was like, I am not having this. Like, if you can explain to me one good reason why she's not playing, then I'll, fine. Coach her and say you need to work on this and then you can play. But to just sit her on the bench for no
Right.
reason, knowing that she's a good player,
Mhm.
made me
Mhm.
mad. So, and Clint, he just laughs because he's so passive. I mean, he's like
Mhm.
the most passive person on the planet. And I get
Easy
all riled up
going,
about
just
stuff.
yeah.
And so he just kind of lets me go when I'm wound
Will
up.
can be like that. Although Will's at he's at a very first parent teacher conference today, and
Oh.
it's a
Yeah.
mom thing. Moms always are the ones talking to the teachers, so.
Right.
And of course, it's with my replica,
Mhm.
Mhm.
who literally in the beginning of the year, and I just, it's so funny. Mrs. Fudge is very stoic. Like she's very straight faced, but she has those kids in line,
Mhm.
and I mean they're 3. And there comes Everett, just free bird, like
Yeah.
whatever.
Oh,
I'm gonna
God.
do what I'm gonna do when I want to do it, and whatever. And just social butterfly, loves to be the center of attention. And in the beginning of the year, she asked me, she goes, "Do you really think that he's ready for this?" And I'm like, "Oh, he's fine.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Are
it'll be
you ready?
great."
Is
Yeah.
the question. 'Cause
Yeah, I
he's going to
apologize.
do him no
Yeah,
matter what.
I apologize to all the teachers
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
he's going towards.
Yeah.
Like, but but he's stuck in that conference today. So I was like, well,
I don't know
Best of-
what Clint would do
Godspeed.
if he got pulled into a conference. Like,
that happened to Dad
That yes.
yeah.
with me.
Thank
Oh.
goodness that she is breaking Will in early,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
because my husband's first conference was
In
when she
7th grade?
7th grade. Right. Now, keep in mind that this same teacher had already had her
My
two
my
older.
golden children,
two older
golden,
siblings.
the one
Oh,
with the
yeah.
shrine to them, where she bows
So-
down to them.
Yeah.
I would, I'd done so many
She
parent
was
teachers
destined for
conference.
failure.
Right. I'd go in and say, okay, tell me. And they'd pass it on. My husband now goes in with a notebook and a pen and he's all set. He's ready to go. The teacher said to him, "She thinks she can bat her baby blues and get away with murder." And that's what he came home with. That shocked me, first of all, that the teacher would say that to him.
Mhm.
But that's what he came home with. He couldn't get past batting her baby blues.
To be fair, she was my math teacher, and I'm not good at math.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't think she meant it in a totally derogatory way. That was Kate. And I was thinking, where have you been all her life? That's your daughter.
Yeah.
Every one of my report cards.
Social butterfly.
Yeah, you should have just said, "Okay, I know that, but what's the problem?"
right.
There was
where are
no-
we going with this?
Yeah, there was no problem. But I don't think he heard a word after
that.
batting her
Yeah.
baby blues. And I internally was chuckling, but I couldn't really laugh out loud because that was the first parent-teacher conference
Mhm.
he had ever gone to. So it was.
She probably apologized to us for like years after that. She apologized to you,
Yes.
but then like when we would go to church or whatever and we would see her,
Yeah.
she would just hug me and be like, "I do really love you." And I'm like, "I know, Mrs. Rendon, I know you
Yeah.
do." But I'm like, but it was true. I mean, math was not my strong suit, so
No,
I would
it wasn't mine.
I would chit
I
chat
don't
with
think
my
y'all
friends.
ever got called into conferences because of me.
We didn't. The only issue we had with you was you decided not to go to class in high school.
Oh yeah, that
I
was
think it
kind
was
of an
just always
issue.
end of year conferences.
Right, it was-
Yeah.
we were
conferences.
required.
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
have
see,
conference.
I don't think we did that. Our schools just kind of gave up on that whole thing.
Yeah. Well, public schools aren't.
But
as
I was
big into
always
that.
well behaved in school.
You were.
Like I wasn't.
We didn't have any major issues.
She just
with
let
you
her
in
hair down
school.
outside of school.
Yeah.